On Monday morning, I got an email from Tyler Brennan. Urgent meeting at 9 a.m. 15 years building 40% of the company's revenue through my clients in Spain and Portugal. And all I got was a 5-minute chat about restructuring and my termination. When Tyler said my position was eliminated, I looked him in the eye and smiled. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. My name is Vincent Torres. I'm 42, and I work as the Import-Export Manager at Atlantic Trade Solutions here in Miami. Every day for the past 15 years starts the same. 5:30 a.m., black coffee, financial news, emails from my European clients. My desk at the office was always perfect. Contracts neatly stacked. My life ran like Swiss clockwork, and I loved the predictability I'd built over a decade and a half of full commitment to the company. The business relationships I built with firms like Iberian Agricultural Group in Madrid and Porto Chemical Industries in Lisbon were more than contracts. I know the directors' names and their kids. When I travel to Europe, it isn't just formal meetings. It's genuine conversations that forged mutual trust across years. Atlantic Trade Solutions relies heavily on these relationships I've built brick by brick. 40% of all company revenue comes directly from the contracts I manage. I don't brag about it, but I know my departure would be a serious problem. I helped transform Atlantic from a small local importer into a strong commercial bridge. My clients trusted me, more than the company itself. For years, I kept a near monastic work routine, showing up early, working late, taking weekend calls when necessary. My wife sometimes jokes that I love the company more than her. I believe in mutual loyalty, that dedication will always be recognized. That philosophy served me well for 15 years. My desk told the story. Contracts on the left, reports in the center, family photo on the right. Colleagues joked I was too predictable, but that consistency delivered solid results. Every morning I reviewed last week's numbers. Every afternoon I'd plan upcoming negotiations. It was a simple, stable life built on foundations I believed were unshakable. I never expected that very predictability would become my greatest vulnerability. My trips to Madrid and Lisbon were always productive and enjoyable. I knew the best restaurants, the reliable drivers, exactly where each client liked to meet. Those personal touches made all the difference. While other execs sent cold emails, I built warm, human connections. That closeness guaranteed long-term contracts and loyalty. My clients weren't just numbers in a spreadsheet. Atlantic Trade Solutions gave me full freedom to manage my accounts. They never questioned my methods because the results always spoke for themselves. 15 years of steady growth, 0 complaints, automatic contract renewals. I was the kind of employee every company dreams of. Reliable, productive, loyal. I believed that combination would secure my stability until retirement. I was so wrong about the value of loyalty in the modern corporate world. My routine was so ingrained that even my assistant knew exactly what I'd need at every hour. Coffee at 6 a.m. Reports at 7 a.m. International calls at 8 a.m. I was a well-oiled machine of efficiency and results. It never occurred to me that this same efficiency could be perceived as a threat. And to think, sometimes being too good at what you do can trigger envy in the most unexpected places. On Monday morning, I got an email from Tyler Brennan asking me to meet him in his office at 9 a.m. The subject line read only, "Urgent meeting," with no details. I arrived on time as always, expecting to discuss a new contract or business strategy. Tyler sat behind his desk, wearing an expression I couldn't quite read. "Vincent, I'll be direct," he said, not even offering a chair. "The company is undergoing restructuring, and we need to make some adjustments in the sales team." His words came out mechanically, like he was reading a script. I felt my stomach tighten, but kept my face neutral, waiting for him to continue. "Unfortunately, your position has been eliminated as part of this reorganization," Tyler continued, pushing a sealed envelope toward me. "All the details are here, including your severance package and next steps." The words dropped like a silent bomb in the room. 15 years of dedication reduced to a white envelope, and a 5-minute conversation. I took the envelope without opening it, maintaining my composure. Understood, was all I could say at first. Tyler looked uncomfortable with my calm reaction, probably expecting more emotion. Is there any specific reason I could know? I asked firmly. He mumbled something about strategic shift and younger profile, empty phrases that explained nothing. You have until the end of the day to clear your things, Tyler added, avoiding eye contact. HR will guide you to ensure a smooth transition. The coldness of the moment was striking. No acknowledgement of years of service, no mention of the contracts I drove, the relationships I built. I was just another number to erase. I stood and said with the same dignity I'd always carried, understood. I shook Tyler's hand. He visibly winced, and left without looking back. In the hallway, some colleagues stared at me with surprise and pity, but I walked straight to my desk. I started packing my personal items meticulously. Family photos, books, special pens I received from clients over the years. I left every company document, every official contract, everything owned by Atlantic Trade Solutions. But they couldn't take one thing, my personal contact list of clients in Spain and Portugal. Their cell numbers and emails built over 15 years. While I packed, I kept up the professional posture I'm known for. No tears, no shouting, just the careful packing up of a professional life coming to an end. A few coworkers came by to say goodbye, but I simply nodded and said, "Thank you." I carried my box to the car, placed it in the back seat, and drove home in total silence. It was the end of an era, but something told me it was also the beginning of a new one. I got home and placed the box of my things in the office. I didn't call my wife right away. I didn't post anything on social media, and I didn't send dramatic messages to anyone. I simply sat in my chair and opened my personal contact list. 15 years of business relationships were right there. Personal phone numbers, direct emails, birthdays I remembered by heart. Tyler Brennan had made a fatal mistake. He thought he was firing me, but he was freeing my clients from Atlantic Trade Solutions. I picked up my phone and began making a careful list. It wasn't a revenge list. It was a list of facts that needed to be communicated professionally. First, I identified the top 5 clients in Spain and Portugal: Iberian Agricultural Group, Porto Chemical Industries, Valencia Exports, Madrid Trading Corp., and Lisbon Maritime. Together, these contracts represented exactly $3.2 million in annual revenue for Atlantic Trade Solutions. They trusted me personally, not the company. The strategy was simple: inform my clients of my departure in a transparent and professional way. I wouldn't speak badly about the company, I wouldn't ask them to cancel contracts, and I wouldn't make a scene. I would simply let them know I no longer worked there and that they should make their own decisions about the future. It was a clean, ethical, and quietly devastating approach. If they chose to follow me, it would be their decision, not me influencing them. I called my lawyer, Marcus Weinstein, who I knew through other clients. "Marcus, I need to know about non-compete clauses in my contract." I explained the situation plainly. He asked for a copy of my contract and promised a full review by day's end. In the meantime, I started researching international trade recruitment firms. I wasn't going to wait around for life to happen. Later that afternoon, Marcus called back with good news. "Vincent, you're free to work wherever you want. Your non-compete clause is very specific. It only applies to direct competitors within a certain geographic radius." He said I could work for any company more than 50 miles from Miami or even start my own consultancy. Atlantic Trade Solutions had been careless with their legal contracts. Another proof Tyler didn't think through this move. At 6 p.m., I started calling. First call, Carlos Mendoza, Director of Iberian Agricultural Group in Madrid. "Carlos, this is Vincent Torres. I'm calling to let you know I'm no longer with Atlantic Trade Solutions as of today." Silence on the other end. "Vincent, what happened? You were the only reason we stayed with them." I briefly explained it was the company's decision, thanked him for our years of partnership, and said I would respect whatever decision he made regarding future contracts. The reaction was immediate, and stronger than I expected. "Vincent, without you, there's no reason to stay with Atlantic. Can you give me 24 hours to cancel everything?" I replied that he should do whatever was best for his business. The same conversation repeated with Ana Silva at Porto Chemical Industries, Miguel Rodriguez at Valencia Exports, and all the others. I didn't ask for anything, I simply informed them. They made their own decisions. After hanging up from the last call, a strange feeling washed over me. It wasn't satisfaction or anger. It was absolute clarity about what had just happened. In less than 3 hours, I'd informed all my major clients about leaving Atlantic Trade Solutions. Now it was just a matter of waiting to see how Tyler Brennan would react when he discovered 40% of the company's revenue was about to disappear. Tomorrow was going to be a very interesting day at the Atlantic office. A week after leaving Atlantic Trade Solutions, I started getting strange calls from former co-workers. First Sarah from accounting, then Mike from legal, both with the same question. Vincent, did you know the company was negotiating a merger? My blood ran cold when I heard those words. This wasn't just another layoff under the guise of restructuring. The missing piece finally snapped into place in my mind with devastating clarity. Tyler Brennan didn't let me go because I was incompetent or didn't fit the new profile. He removed me because Atlantic Trade Solutions was being sold to Iberian Consolidated Group, a Spanish foreign trade giant. My removal was part of a larger, cold, calculated conspiracy to artificially boost the company's value during negotiations. They wanted to get rid of me before the merger was announced, so buyers wouldn't discover that 40% of their revenue hinged on a single individual. It was a dirty strategy to hide vulnerability and make Atlantic look stable and diversified. Tyler's sudden hiring, the push to modernize the team, my desk being relocated, all part of a plan to remove me before I could disrupt their $1 million deal. I realized this wasn't just an unfair firing or a clueless boss marking his territory. It was corporate conspiracy to defraud buyers, manipulate company value, and use me as a scapegoat. Tyler and the board were willing to destroy 15 years of my career to secure a profitable merger. The deception was far deeper and more systematic than I ever imagined in my worst nightmares. The irony struck me in that moment of bitter clarity. Tyler and the board thought they were smart to get rid of me before announcing the merger, but they made a fatal mistake they didn't foresee. They ignored the fact that my Spanish and Portuguese clients were loyal to me, not Atlantic. In firing me, they didn't just lose 40% of their revenue. They destroyed precisely the asset that made the company valuable to Iberian Consolidated Group. As I processed this revelation, a strange calm washed over me. It wasn't about my unjust termination anymore. It was about justice on a far bigger scale than I ever intended. If Tyler and the board were willing to defraud buyers and destroy careers for money, how many others had suffered from similar schemes over the years? My situation had become part of something much larger, a web of corporate corruption beyond my personal experience. I now had the chance to expose not just a personal betrayal, but a pattern of corporate misconduct that needed to be revealed to protect other victims. Revenge wouldn't be necessary. They'd sabotage themselves the moment they destroyed the very relationships underpinning the company's true value. This discovery completely changed my perspective on everything, and on what I would do next. With Spanish and Portuguese clients canceling contracts and the merger hinging on those relationships, tomorrow would truly be an interesting day for everyone involved in this conspiracy that had just been fully exposed. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. First, it was Carlos Mendoza from Iberian Agricultural Group. Vincent, we've canceled all contracts with Atlantic Trade Solutions. We want to work directly with you. 20 minutes later, Ana Silva from Porto Chemical Industries called with the same decision. In under 3 hours, $3.2 million in annual contracts had evaporated from Atlantic. At 11 a.m., I got the first desperate call from Atlantic's CEO, James Morrison, his voice shaking. Vincent, we need to talk. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. I listened in silence as he offered a generous retention package, 40% raise, signing bonus, even a promotion to regional director. When he finished, I replied with a single word, understood. The same word I'd used when Tyler fired me. An hour later, Tyler called personally, panic in his voice. Vincent, look, we can fix this like professionals. He offered me consulting work, an improved exit package, Even suggested I return as an external consultant to maintain the Spain and Portugal accounts. When he finished, I said, "I'll consider your offers." But I knew I wouldn't. As Tyler and the board panicked, another call came that changed everything. It was Michael Grantley, CEO of Grantley & Company, a respected international trade firm. "Vincent, I heard what happened at Atlantic. I have a proposal you'll like." He offered me a senior vice president position with full autonomy to manage my client base. Grantley's offer included a competitive salary, profit sharing, signing bonus, and a seat on the executive committee. Michael explained they had followed my career for years and admired my genuine relationship-based approach. "We don't just want your clients, Vincent. We want your expertise and your philosophy." It was the professional recognition I'd deserved, but never received at Atlantic. As I signed the contract with Grantley & Company, I got 3 more calls from Atlantic. First, Sarah from accounting, begging me to reconsider. Then Mike from legal, trying to negotiate non-compete terms that didn't even exist in my contract. Finally, Tyler, completely desperate, offering me anything to come back. Revenge wasn't necessary when justice was unfolding naturally. Late afternoon, word leaked from inside. Atlantic had called an emergency board meeting. Tyler was blaming me for client tampering and unethical practices, but the revenue figures told the real story. 40% of the company's income vanished within 24 hours, and the merger with Iberian Consolidated Group was hanging by a thread. Spanish buyers were now questioning the company's stability and reconsidering the entire deal. As I prepared to start my new role at Grantley & Company, a strange calm settled over me. It wasn't satisfaction at Tyler's downfall or Atlantic's crisis. It was deep peace, knowing justice had been served, without me stooping to their level. My clients made their own choices based on loyalty and trust. Tyler and the board had sabotaged themselves by destroying what took me 15 years to build. A week after Atlantic Trade Solutions collapsed, I got a call I never expected. It was James Morrison, the CEO, his voice completely broken. "Vincent, we've made a terrible mistake. We need to talk." I listened silently as he explained Tyler Brennan had been fired. The merger with Iberian Consolidated Group had fallen through, and the company's stock had plunged 20%. When he finished, I replied with one word: "Understood." The betrayal had backfired in a devastating way. Morrison pleaded, offering me my old job back with a 60% raise, profit sharing, even a seat on the board. "Vincent, you've always been part of this family. We can rebuild this together." His voice was desperate, almost pitiful. I listened, noting every desperate offer. Then I said, "I'll consider it." But I already knew I wouldn't. Tyler called me 17 times that week. He left emotional voicemails, apologizing and claiming he was pressured by the board. In one message, he cried about how his career was ruined and that he'd learned a valuable lesson about loyalty. I deleted all of them without listening. When he finally reached me, I said, "Tyler, I understand your situation," and hung up. The same coldness he'd used on me. Atlantic Trade Solutions was in free fall. Through insiders, I learned 3 more senior execs had been fired. The company was considering bankruptcy, and investors were suing the board for mismanagement. The merger meant to save the company became its final blow. The Spanish buyers discovered the 40% of revenue was tied to personal relationships that no longer existed. It was justice in its purest, most natural form. Morrison made one last, desperate move. He showed up unannounced at my office at Grantley & Company, begging to speak personally. When I saw him at the reception, disheveled and with red eyes, I felt a strange mix of pity and indifference. "Vincent, please, just 5 minutes. We can resolve this like businessmen." I looked him in the eye for a moment and said, "There's nothing to resolve, James." I turned away and returned to my office. They continued to reach out for another 2 weeks. Long emails from the board, calls from former colleagues asking me to reconsider, even a formal letter offering me a multi-million-dollar payout just to come back and save the remaining contracts. I read it all with the same neutral expression I had when I was fired. I didn't respond. Silence was my most eloquent reply. At month's end, I saw the headline, "Atlantic Trade Solutions declares bankruptcy." Tyler Brennan had been unemployed for 3 weeks, and rumors said no one in the industry wanted to hire him. Morrison had sold his house to cover personal debts tied to the failed merger. Justice had been served without me lifting a finger, except to inform my clients I was gone. They had destroyed themselves. As I read about the bankruptcy in the paper, I felt a strange calm. Not satisfaction or joy over their fall. It was a deep peace in knowing some actions naturally lead to consequences. My clients in Portugal and other European markets made decisions based on trust and loyalty. Tyler and Morrison had reaped what they sowed. Betrayal breeds abandonment. Disloyalty leads to ruin. Life had balanced the scales. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new office at Grantley & Company, looking out over the Miami skyline. As a partner in the firm, I now oversee $20 million in annual revenue, most of it coming from my former clients in Spain and Portugal who chose to follow me. What we've built here is something different. A company founded on equity, mutual respect, and real relationships. No office politics, no silent betrayals, just honest work and recognition based on merit. I implemented a leadership model completely different from what I experienced at Atlantic Trade Solutions. My team has the freedom to make decisions, a share in the profits, and, most importantly, they're treated like human beings, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. When someone delivers results, they're recognized. It's the kind of environment I always wanted to work in but never found, until I created it myself. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from Mike Sullivan, a former colleague from Atlantic Trade Solutions who'd been unemployed for 2 months. His voice was shaky. He was clearly desperate. He asked me for a referral to another company. Without hesitation, I reached out to a few contacts and landed him an interview. Not out of pity or moral superiority, but because I've learned that holding on to grudges is a burden I don't need. The revenge I could have pursued became irrelevant once I realized life had already balanced the scales. Tyler Brennan is still unemployed, Morrison lost his house, and Atlantic Trade Solutions is now just a bitter memory in the market. I could have celebrated their downfall, but I discovered that true victory doesn't come from someone else's destruction. It comes from building something better. The most powerful justice is success earned with dignity. Yesterday, something unexpected happened. James Morrison sent me an email asking to meet in person, not to offer me a job or justify himself, but to ask for advice on how to rebuild his career. My first instinct was to delete it, but after some thought I decided to respond. Not out of weakness or naivety, but because forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to carry the weight of the past. This whole experience taught me that some betrayals are blessings in disguise. If Tyler hadn't fired me, I never would have discovered my true potential as a leader and entrepreneur. If Atlantic Trade Solutions hadn't tried to sabotage me, I never would have built even stronger relationships with my European clients. What seemed like the end of my career was really the beginning of my true professional journey. My routine now is simple and fulfilling. I wake up at 6 a.m., drink my coffee while reading emails from European clients, and head into the office knowing every day is an opportunity to build something lasting. No political meetings, no power games, just honest work and relationships built on mutual trust. It's the kind of peace that only comes when your values align with your daily actions. When I look back, I don't feel anger or bitterness about what happened at Atlantic Trade Solutions. I feel gratitude. Gratitude for finding out who people really were, for discovering my inner strength, and for learning that true justice doesn't come from revenge. It comes from rebuilding yourself with dignity. Today, when my clients call, it's not just about business. It's because we've built something deeper than contracts. We've built trust. Looking back, I realized the biggest lesson from this experience wasn't about revenge or how to take down those who wronged us. It was about discovering that real strength doesn't come from reacting with anger, but from responding with intelligence and dignity. Tyler and Morrison thought they were being clever by orchestrating my exit, but in truth, they freed me from a toxic environment. The most powerful form of justice isn't the one that destroys our enemies. It's the one that builds us into better people. If you've made it this far, chances are you've been through something similar, or you know someone who has. I want to hear from you. Do you think I should have done anything differently at any point in this story? Have you ever been unfairly fired or betrayed at work in a way that changed your life? Share your story in the comments, because sometimes just knowing you're not alone can make all the difference. If this story resonated with you in any way, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to get more real stories like this one. Every week I share powerful accounts of people who faced injustice, betrayal, and impossible odds, but found the strength to rebuild. Remember, no matter how dark things might seem right now, there's always a way to turn pain into growth. Your own story of resilience might be just beginning.